All right, welcome into the half. My name is Aaron Montgomery. This guy right here is Erich Campbell. Eric, feels like we were just doing this.
I swear we just did a show recently. I'm trying to put my finger on it.
Huh.
Think it might have been the Two Regular Guys.
Yes, the Two Regular Guys. I remember now.
What did we
talk
the
about today?
irregular guy joke? I think from like the first time ever. I don't think I made the irregular guy joke while I was on. But hey,
wow, that is true. Yeah, that didn't happen. And so we're doing the half, and then tomorrow we are going to be chatting again. Now the live versions for the OSG members and Club OSG members, but you will get to catch the podcast version a little bit later on. So I'm excited. What the heck are we talking about tomorrow?
We are talking about ERO, my friend.
Oh, that's right. And what is ERO, Eric?
You're going to have to tell me that. You
right.
Explain this. You do it better than I do.
Sorry, I'm digging to grab my book. Get the reference material out. So
there we go. Oh, you're upside down.
Thank you.
You got it.
There we go. Success principle. So we are going to talk about the number one success principle, which is to take 100% responsibility. But E plus R equals O is the formula that we're going to discuss. And that formula means the event, whatever the thing is that's happening.
Yes.
Plus your response, how you respond to it, upset, angry, understanding, gratitude, all those different responses that we can have will actually equal our outcome. And so we'll discuss the nuances of that. So
I wanted you to hit it because I mean you're the trainer and you know it better for the success principles. I think for me the big thing I want to bring to it, and I mean we're not going to just hash the show out here before we do the show, but the big thing I want to bring to it is that I think there's a big misunderstanding for people about reactions where they don't separate out their internal feelings and initial reactions from what they actually take action on when they have an event that upsets them or causes issues in their lives. And I think that's like there's a whole layer that kind of gets missed because I see a lot of people who are just saying like, oh, what that means is something happens in your life, buckle down, grit your teeth, don't feel bad, everything's positive, and out you go, and that's how your outcome's good. And I'm like, yeah, there's a translation layer in there that we're missing.
Yeah,
for our own health and wellness that we probably want to get through.
Yeah, exactly.
But,
yeah. So I think a big part of it, for sure. And a big part of that is going to, like you said, that the process. So anyhow, you said, let's not hash that out here today.
Won't hash the whole show out. Suffice it to say, we're going to talk about how it is to react to things that are happening in your business and in your world and how that affects your outcomes.
Exactly. Perfect. We should have just started with that.
Right?
Okay. So we've got Todd checking in. Yo,
what's up, Todd?
And Ramona says, I did my nominations wrong. I clicked the button before I made the nominations. Hanging head and text shame. I'm going to try again. Yeah, that's totally fine, Ramona. Like I said, what happens when the way that the form's all set up, if you submit, it's basically going to just take whatever the last thing that you submitted on that email address is. So if you have used that email address in the past, it's totally fine. I guess we probably should have talked about that on Two Regular Guys, but that doesn't.
I will just say this really quickly though. For those of you who joined the half who weren't on the Two Regular Guys earlier, Two Regular Guys podcast, which you can find in the usual places you do, Two Regular Guys podcast. That's the number 2. We talked about the Reggie Awards. We have a yearly award that we do that is all industry led, and the nominations are open today for all the categories. So if you haven't checked that out, go check it out. And you can, anybody in the decoration industry who wants to nominate like their favorite product that's new from the last 3 years, their best customer service, their favorite ambassador, their favorite online education channel. We have a bunch of categories there. So if you haven't seen it, go check that out. Obviously it's something that we're pretty passionate about because the Two Regular Guys are, has been the gateway for all the stuff we're doing, but it is at tworegularguys.com/Reggies. So any show, any education that you like, that you love, any ambassador for the industry, put them in there, recognize them, and that's something that we're doing. So that's what we're talking about with the nominations thing. So once again, tworegularguys.com/Reggies, and listen to today's show to get the lowdown on all the categories and all the rules.
Absolutely. Awesome. All right. So we've got Justin. Good morning, Halfers, he says. I
don't know if I'm going to stick with Halfers, my man, but we'll find something. Good morning, Justin.
And I like the attempt. I think it's good. I mean, we did name it the half, so it makes total sense. But I don't know. I can't. It makes me, it's odd. It makes me feel like the 99 weekers, that kind of thing. I don't know. I don't know
I
why
don't
that
know.
comes to
I'm
my
trying
mind.
to it's almost there, but I'm not there yet. I was like 50 percenters. That sounds bad. It sounds like half effort. It sounds like
The half pints. The half pints. There we
it's a little
go.
in the morning for a half pint, but some mornings.
Christine says, I've already shared the Reggie Award link with all my groups that I run, trying to encourage people to nominate. We really appreciate that, Christine. And like we talked about on the Two Regular Guys, Eric, the other thing I love about this is every year, doing this for 9 years now, we've always met people, quote unquote, met people that, or heard about people that we've never heard of before. And some of them have actually come on the show later on, or, just we've gotten to be friends with them. I remember one of the first Reggie programs, a gentleman by the name of Rob Coleman was introduced to us. And Rob is a great guy that does a ton of stuff for the industry. And I'd never heard of him before. So anyhow,
it's amazing what corners of the industry we may or may not have heard of. I mean,
sure.
And also, I'll be honest, you guys know I've done some film and some screens in my time, not a ton. But that means that when people come in with screen print, people who are awesome educators in that space, I may not know them at all because I was really deeply in my embroidery side of the world. So, and that can happen with any of us. We can kind of be myopic to one side of the industry that we don't know well. So, I mean, I love seeing all these different inputs from all these different people. It is great.
Yeah.
So, great thing about the awards shows, and honestly, great thing about being on live with you guys. Sometimes you guys also, people who just show up to the chats, to the lives, to the comments, bring people and concepts that we don't know. I love that.
Yep. And Justin says the halves may be more correct.
I don't mind that. Here was the joke that I immediately thought in my head. Here's the pun, the dad joke part of me. I was like, oh, they're the halves. I'm trying to hit that L really hard. The halves and the have-nots. We are, of course,
the have-nots.
The haves.
I like that. All right.
That hurts. Good. That hurts awesome. Deeply. And if someone else is shaking their head in my classic fashion that I always do to Terry, I fully support you shaking your head at me and face palming. That was terrible.
Indeed. All right, guys. Well, what do you guys want to talk about? What questions are there?
Please.
What's going on in your worlds? We're open. Like, yeah. I mean, that's really what we're here for, is just to interact with you guys. If there's things on our mind, we'll certainly go there, but we want to go where you guys want to go first. Christine says the halfers sounded sort of like heifers, and that's just not a good connotation.
Yeah, for those of us who may or may not struggle with our immense size, I don't know that I really want to be a heifer, but hey.
Yeah. I had to get sick to shed some pounds, so now we're going in the right direction, hopefully. And then Todd, now we're going deeper in the wrong direction, I think. Actually, here.
No,
half-wits.
No.
After the grief I gave Todd at Two Regular Guys, I think I deserve that one, though. So I'll take that one, Eric.
I was waiting for someone to talk about our level of effort, and I will not say the word that I was going to say, but no, we are putting the entirety of our effort into this.
That's right.
In its own way.
That's right.
If you know, you know.
Todd says he's just here to hear Erich spit some bars. So there you go.
Once again, the bars are not coming. I am not ready. No mom spaghetti. This is not my one chance or my one shot. No, none of this is happening. You can't make this a thing.
Yeah, there we go. Okay, all right. I'm just going to save you from yourself here, Eric. I'm moving on. No, I was kidding. Ramona says I'm with Christine there. No havers. Christine's got another one. Half-baked. Let's see how many phrases with the word half.
None of this sounds really complimentary, folks.
There we go. Let's see here. Hello, Bevy Jean. Thanks for being here. Appreciate you joining us. And we will not repeat this one, Todd. Can I say half?
No. Yeah. No, you can't. We want that
someday
family tag on iTunes.
Yeah, exactly.
We want that family tag.
The heifer is a girl cow, Cindy said. So there we go.
True. This is true. Another reason personally why I'm not down with being a heifer. Yeah, no joke.
I grew up in a small town and had horses and all sorts of stuff. And I did not know that. I actually did not know that. So there we go. Learned something new today.
Dad was on a ranch at some point in his life. So yeah, a little bit of that. Not much, but enough. And I listened. But still. Suffice it to say, what I will say about all of this stuff, and I would just like that we had this interaction. It's something that we talked about, talking about Two Regular Guys in the Reggie Awards, and something I talk about with all the shows, including we were talking about the trade shows. This kind of interaction, even the fun stuff, this is where we inspire each other. Think about how many more ideas. Let's say this was us brainstorming about a product line. with all these people coming together and coming up with different ideas and takes with their own experiences, we all bring something new to the pot. I mean, that's why all this interaction is important. Yes, I know I'm making it all seriously, but
yeah, no, but I mean, I think that's a really valid point, and actually a really valid point that people can take and actually use in a positive way. You know, we're brainstorming ideas for names for the community of people that show up for this program. And we've gone all over the place, but I mean, look at all of the different ideas, you know, and if that's you in your situation where you're just like, I'm trying to come up with an idea, a way to say this,
yep,
find an opportunity like this, get it out there, you know, go post in a group somewhere, or show up on the half, bring it to the half. That's fine.
We'll talk
we'll go through it. And it, you know, this is masterminding at its finest here, Eric.
That was what I was just going to say.
What a better reason for more people to grow together.
Join a mastermind group. What a better reason to have an industry group you talk to. And the great thing about a lot of the masterminds is they're not always within, I mean, you can, and it's great sometimes to be within the same organization, same kind of vertical, the same industry. Yep. But sometimes you can get into a group where you have people from different industries, and it's great because you're not only non-competitive, but you can talk about different things. The other half of it, though, it is kind of great to be in an industry specific group, because then you all have very similar experiences and you can ping off each other's knowledge very deeply. So it's really cool. Like I said, I think that mastermind groups are great. I should follow my own rules here and actually join a group and be part of one and actively work with it. But yeah, it is something that when I've had the chance to brainstorm in groups like that, it's been really valuable.
And when you talk about masterminding as like I said, a group, a regular group, there is a big commitment there to the group and to yourself and stuff like that. So it's not always right for everybody. But for example, we run some mastermind groups at our success group, and again, it's this opportunity. You know, they all happen to be in the same industry, obviously, because they're coming through our success group. But I've had some of them describe it as a business advisory board. You know, we've got one young lady that in 2021 had set some pretty big goals for herself. Her ultimate goal is to get to that 7-figure mark for her company. But she set some pretty big goals for herself for 2021 and has kind of been playing full out in our mastermind group and doing the work and making commitments and, you know, participating, educating herself and her fellow group members. And she made her goal by August. And this is before the fourth quarter. So she's going to crush her goal for this year, her big goal for later on. So, you know, again, these kinds of things, while they are a commitment of time and you know, in certain cases, depending on the group, you know, it's an investment of your money. It's a return on investment. And so what we're talking about here is just kind of coming together and brainstorming, and I use mastermind kind of more loosely, but a true mastermind group that's got a proven formula and system. You know, it's something that I've learned about it, because yes, I used to be involved in different groups and we kind of, but there was so much time being wasted and just weren't getting there. I actually started I was part of a group with some other success principles folks. And while I love the relationships that I built, I had to leave the group because we just weren't really, it was kind of more of a chit chat, and, you know, people would show up when they wanted to kind of thing. And so I've rejoined another group where we're fully committed. Everybody's there the times when we're supposed to be there, and we're not gonna, you know, and you know, very little excuses for not being there. You know, we don't really kind of accept that. If you kind of stop showing up, then you're out of the group. And we make commitments to each other, and we, you know, hold each other accountable, and it's just, it's done huge things for me and what I'm trying to do. And so I highly encourage people to look at that. If you're really serious about growing your business or growing yourself even personally, getting into a formal mastermind group. And I'm not just saying this because I'm not trying to promote my group. I'm saying any formal group that has a plan and a structure and a commitment to each other. I cannot say enough good things about that. So,
well, I'll say, not having done it personally, in any recent time, I'll admit it's been a long time since I've been part of a formal group that meets, but I will say funny enough, kind of the Two Regular Guys, what you guys might not know is we kind of serve as our own little sounding board group too, because we get together once a week, no matter what, and we get a chance to chat. And so part of what we do outside of the half and outside of Two Regular Guys is we have a chance to talk about what's going on with ourselves and talk about what projects we're working on. And even something as informal of that as that can be when we're just chatting before and after shows.
Well,
is really a good place to have a little accountability and check in with people. So yeah, it's
totally. In fact, you are my second mastermind group, Eric. We get done with a half and then we kind of mastermind together. And
pretty frequently. Yeah, we'll stop
cool.
and go over some
Not
stuff
every week. Sometimes we got things we got to go to. But
for sure.
Yep. All right. Well, let's get back here. Where did we leave off here?
Well, Christine said, let's
get to that one. No, you're good. You're good. Go there. Yep.
I named the regulators, so it'd be nice to name the people who watch the half. I could be 2 for 2. This is true. I have to say, I've got the reciprocators are named by Mike Muldowney. So the people from the take up, we call them the reciprocators, people who watch that. And that's the other one that we have. So by the way, it doesn't have to necessarily include the half. I was thinking that myself. I'm like,
hanging us up. Yeah, we're trying to be around the half. Yeah.
Our tagline has always been 30 minutes, no exceptions. And I'm starting to think maybe somewhere in there. Let me seed that pot a little bit about exceptions or no exceptions. I think that's a good place for the half.
There you go. I like it. Lyndon, hello, tuning in from North Carolina. Appreciate you being here. And again, we're looking forward to hearing from you guys. If you have questions, you have things you want to talk about, we're here to interact with you. Cindy says the other side. Okay.
Nice.
All right. We're getting stuff in there. Good afternoon, Frank.
Good afternoon, Frank, from out in the UK.
There we go. Okay. See, you're helping me. Appreciate it. We may have to cut Todd from the
Todd,
quickies.
I think you're going too spicy for us today.
Oh, now we've got it. 30-minute delivery from Justin. Thank you, Justin, for that idea. Christine, the exceptionals.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. That's kind of where I was heading with that.
2 for 2 here, Eric. She may be 2 for 2.
One might be 2 for 2.
All right, good. There you go. Awesome, you guys. This is exciting.
I love doing that stuff. I mean, I think brainstorming is something that's good for us in general because the process of doing this, even if it's not something related to what you're doing, it just flexes the creative muscle.
Yeah.
And that's something I was recently listening to. A book called Thinker Toys, and listening to it because I was doing it while I was doing other stuff. Thinker Toys by I believe Michael Michalko. And this is a book about creativity that I had recommended to me at Shirt Lab, which is really cool. But there was a couple of really good books in that kind of category. And this one, Richard Greaves talked about it. I mean, that actually was talked about repeatedly. I believe Marshall talked about it. There's multiple people talked about it.
Sure.
But yeah, this book had some interesting things about how we take ideas and work with our creativity. And like I said, go look up the Scamper method. I cannot define it all here, but Thinker Toys has this process called the Scamper method that Marshall went over, among other. Like I said, everybody was talking about this book. It came up like 4 times, so I was like, okay, in this group full of people who of whom are some industry greats, I'm going to listen if they all read this book and love it. But it really is about how we look at things. We can apply different rules. We can reverse things. We can change things. We can combine them differently. We can remove things. We can add things. And how can we take an existing idea and modify it into something new? Because one of the things people think, they get hung up on creativity because they think I need to bring something like bolt of the blue out of the blue sky. I guess we got our blue sky background. So here we are.
Yeah.
But as a bolt from the blue, like Deus Ex Machina, this thing is going to come out of nowhere from nothing and a fully formed idea is going to happen. And the truth of the matter is it's usually a mashup, a reimagining of something else, something that's adjacent to something you're already doing, something that answers a problem you've seen already. There's nothing new under the sun, and that's okay.
Yeah.
I mean, hey, our good friend of the show and of all of our shows, Jay Bussell always says R&D, which he calls rip off and duplicate, which I think it's a little too far, but I like to say like retail research. I go look at different things and then mash them up or remix them. Yeah. And I think that's the thing. This kind of creative exercise that we do, whether it's directed toward our business or not, is still just good for us. It's good for our minds. And sometimes a low expectation brainstorm can unlock you because you're not hung up on what is this going to result in? What will this do for my bottom line? You're just freeing up that creative mind a little bit. So I think as much as we're joking around, I think that's a valuable thing.
Yeah, I agree. And when you're talking about that, Eric, too, you think, like I said, you kind of, as you were talking about in that, where it's not like you kind of go, okay, here's the deal. And now I'm going to go from A to fully formed idea. It's that gradient of growth. And then, and then what starts happening is you start unlocking the other things around you. I think a great example of this was at a certain time in the human history, that people didn't believe that it was physically humanly possible to run a mile in less than 4 minutes. And then the second that Roger Bannister broke that 4-minute mile barrier, like 3 other people did it within like a couple of months. And it was just, again, unlocking something in people that was this roadblock, this idea that it was just not physically possible. And so obviously that's not creating something, but you're thinking about it in that realm. Lots of things that are like, you see technology really change and improve quickly. And some of it was stuck for a long time, and it just took one person in kind of an adjacent field to make a step forward, and then it kind of dominoes. So speaking of dominoes, I didn't mean to lead in, but that was one of Todd's suggestions. Christine says, I've had a lot of practice naming products, so I can throw out names all day. I like it. And then great to have Jeff joining us. Thanks for being here, Jeff.
Of the Embroidery Nerd and Fuller Embroidery Works. Glad to have you on.
And we've got his cohort in crime there, Justin, been with us the duration as well.
Yes, digitizer himself is what I always say, because I always like to call out digitizers, I guess, because it's like my brethren out there.
Yeah,
my brethren, my sistren.
So I have a question for you, Eric.
Sure.
When you said Justin's an embroiderer, I'm sorry, not embroiderer, a digitizer.
Yeah.
I've never been spammed by Justin, so I'm not real sure if he is a digitizer.
And here I listen to you like you're going to say something serious. No, Justin being a good digitizer doesn't have to spam folks. He doesn't have to just push.
Okay, so I've never had a conversation with him in my private message Facebook group that didn't make any sense, and the English wasn't great. Then now I got to
stand up for us. What I will say is this, though: I have been one of the people out there driving the stitches or it didn't happen movement, which is when people show you digital previews, make them show you a stitch out. That's not the nicest thing I've ever done, but it is something I've said before. I'm like, oh, that's great. So did you ever stitch it out? And people get some of the people who are out there kind of spamming auto-created designs don't take kindly to that one. But hey, that's how it goes.
Yeah, because I get it more. Thank you, Justin. He says,
I'm laughing
because I will try to do more spamming. Justin, you got my email. You know how to find me on Facebook. I expect, several times a week.
I give you the right to at least give Aaron one horrific spam message, because I mean he earned it after all that, my friend.
Well, and it wouldn't take more than about 30 seconds to realize that I don't actually embroider, right? And so it just like, why are you wasting your time? Yes. Anyhow, all right.
My favorite one is I have actually one time. Well, no, there's actually twice, but one time was it absolutely brazen in my DMs. I had a digitizer of some ill repute offered to digitize for me using an image from one of my own articles of my work. So that was super nice. So they stole my work and then advertised to me that they could do that kind of work for me. So that was
there you go. All right. So
extra awesome. I'm like, actually, I'm sure I know a guy who can do work like that.
Oh, by the way, it's me. All right, good. Interesting. So Christine says, I'm so excited that Eric and Jeff and Justin and Matthew will be on my show in a few weeks. The first men ever on Women in Business. That's awesome.
This is true.
Love it.
This is true. We're gonna be talking about some interesting experiences we've had with embroidery, because there are actually some interesting kind of gender stories and politics that we can talk about in that particular realm.
Wow. All right. Cool. I'm gonna do that. So Jeff says Justin and his spamming, and then Jeff says be like Bob.
Inside joke for the embroidery nerds.
Okay. Thank you.
Just suffice it to say, Matt has a meme response that he may or may not be sending to some digitizers who hit him up with that, and it may or may not refer to what would be much nicer as an approach from digitizers. So if you spam Matt, you will get to be like Bob.
Yeah. All right. So we do have coming from Todd here, which I shared recently in our private members group an article that you did on embroidering gradients.
Yes.
So talk to us about that, please, sir.
We have a very short period of time, so I'll try and break it down as quickly as I can.
You go, and I'll put my finger on the button.
Okay, the article was about getting perfect gradients, and one of them, I've done this in a few different versions, but what essentially is that when you're digitizing for embroidery, one of the most difficult things we can do is smooth color gradation, because as you may know, with color gradation and with embroidery, we have thread. It's a physical object. It's not going to change color unless you are putting, $20,000 worth of color reel on the top of each head of your machine. The individual thread does not change color. So the only way we can get gradients is by layering multiple layers of thread in different colors and feeding them together so that we end up with a target density of full coverage that in the end has all the different colors in different ratios along our gradient to make that gradient spectrum happen. And in the article, what I really talk about is the ways in which that can happen and how we can approach that, whether we're building that through fills, whether we're building that manually, literally punching every stitch. That's what we're really trying to deal with, is dividing an area that we want to be a gradient into slices that have a different ratio of one color to another color. So generally, we're usually only working with two colors at a time in any particular slice of a gradient. But what we're doing is saying, all right, at least the way I build them is to say we're using light density fills, or we're manually saying, out of these several lines of thread, which are a unit to make up our density, how many are of one color and how many are of another color as we travel from one side to the other. And thank you for putting up that link. But yeah, it's the concept therein is to take multiple light density layers of fill stitch and embroidery. And actually, I see you're sharing the screen here, and this is a good way to show it. Several layers of this light density fill in multiple colors, and we change how much of each color is in each section until we get from one color to the next. In this case, I've got a 7-color gradient that you're looking at on screen. And this particular one, though you can do gradients with multiple layers of fill, like let's say we have, we work with quarter densities. So we have 4 times the normal space. We've got 1 line of thread and then 3 essentially gaps, and then 1 line of thread is in the realm of what would be traditional density. And then we interleave 4 of those layers for each kind of segment. In this case, though, this one was done manually, where I literally just measured the ratios. I split off the design into stripes and said, all right, in each one of these stripes, I have 3, let's say 3 to 1. So I've got 3 of the one color, and then I leave a gap. So later on, I'm going to run 1 line of the next color in, and I change that 3 to 1, half and half, 1 to 3, and then back to the solid color on the other side. But in this case, with this many colors, you have to actually go through each color and do that. And I think if you scroll down, I have to say, this version, I'm not sure which graphics they put into it, but yeah, you can see that if you do it with an accordion fill like this, you can use accordion or gradient fill properties in your embroidery software. But when you put them together, you can see that there's some gaps and there's some show through on that, because the accordion just kind of gradually changes the density as you go from one side to the other. And when you flip them, they don't always get full coverage. And sometimes if you can get full coverage, you're ending up with more than your target density. It can be really dense and really stiff. So I would really recommend, because this is such a visual thing, to go check out the article if you saw that link. It will show you a little bit about analyzing the art and dividing the areas. It's a good way to go about that. And actually can show you this particular piece that's on screen now is a 3-color gradient that was done with fill blocks. So if you look at each one of these blocks of color, 4 different fills add up, and where all 4 of the fills in one color are is a solid full coverage density in that section. So there's a lot of people who do different types of blending, but this blending is pretty common for gradients and for other kinds of blends. If you've seen, I know folks at Embroidery Nerd are going to have Lee Caracelli on. She does a very similar thing with building up to a target coverage with multiple light layers of thread. This one is more about simple gradients. And you can also see, like I said, with super subtle shading, like I did for the top piece with the 7 colors, I did that manually so that I could go in steps that were not just quarters. Because when you're doing with four like quarter density fills, you end up where you have like 1 to 4, then half. You can't have another step in between of how many lines you're skipping. It's like I said, it's hard to describe without showing it visually. Go check it out and see. The real takeaway about this is to look at your art, separate it into stripes where you want to have the primary color, which colors are more dominant, and you count those out according to how many layers of fill you're going to do and what density. Because if we have, like I said, quarter layers, 4 layers together will make 1 solid density area. And then we're going to then split those up and overlap them so that we get that gradient effect. Like I said, it is not an easy thing to do. It's not something you just click the gradient button. And if you do just click the gradient button over the top of another color, the the trade-off for that ease of use is that you're going to have excess density in the places where the full densities line up on top of each other, or where you have heavier density than you need just to make sure you don't have anything showing through.
There you go.
So that's, there's your like
you did it, Eric.
6 minutes of what that means. That one's hard.
And the
Go
article
look at
said
the
it was
thing.
a 6-minute read. So
Yeah, 6 minute reads,
perfect.
explanation. And by the way, go check out the take up. If you go to my YouTube channel, there's an entire discussion of this. So check out the take up. There's a whole hours of this if you want to check it out.
Nice. All right. Well, thank you guys for being here. We're actually right on time today. So peace out, everybody. Bye.
Later. Okay, now I can breathe.